Yeah, it's like one of the Eagles. Like,
Mm. A lot
can't
of
really do that.
lot of rivalry stabbing each other in the back this free agency. It's been
Yeah,
a lot of fun.
the big one in your neighborhood, man.
Dude, yeah, that's a
Can't believe
sad
Aaron
day.
Jones with the Vikings. Like,
As soon as I was on the
despite,
phone with Danny, like right after it happened, and I was like, he asked me where he thought he was gonna go, and it's like it seems like a Vikings move. Like 100% that seems like what they would do. And
yeah,
lo and behold, they did. I mean, he's gonna have a good year. I think he still looked good um towards the end of last year. He just couldn't stay healthy. It sucks. Honestly, that one hurts more than Rodgers and
oh
Adams,
yeah,
I think.
for sure. I mean, Adams, the writing was on the wall. Like,
Yeah. And so Rodgers too. In fact, for 3 years in
oh,
a row, I kind of prepared myself for Rodgers. This one was a roller coaster. At one point, it was, oh, Aaron Jones is definitely going to come back, and we're most likely going to draft somebody. Then we signed Josh Jacobs, and at first it was initially reported as like, oh, we're still going to rework Aaron Jones deal, and it's like, oh, we're going to have both. That'll be cool, like a Aaron Jones, Josh Jacobs tandem in the backfield. Like, all right, sign me up for that. And then we cut him, and I was like, oh, that hurt.
I took a lease out on your heart. I took a lease out on your heart. Can I at least have fun? Can I at least have fun? Can I at least have fun?
Welcome back, everybody. We are Rough Draft Research. You are the audience, and together we are on a quest for Dynasty Domination. How's it going over there, Daniel?
oh, couldn't be better, man. Having a good time, getting the rookies in the tournament, man. It's
It's here.
March. Here we are. This is madness.
The madness of March has begun. That's right. We've been talking about it all offseason, and we are finally here with
Yes.
the 2024 Rough Draft Research Dynasty Rookie Tournament.
Nothing better, man. How are you doing, Christian?
I'm doing pretty good, man. I'm excited for this. It's we prepare a lot for this. It's one of our favorite times of the year, and this is an interesting one. I'm really excited to get into this with everybody and kind of break these guys down.
Yeah, me too. I had a lot of fun just going through it. I mean, we've been doing profiles for a couple of months.
Hmm.
Obviously, we hit a lot of the big guys. If you guys are just catching us on the tournament, you want to hear what we have to say about some of the bigger names.
Quick
We've got
rewind.
pretty good catalog going so
Hmm.
far. But this is more of a like head to head. There's good and bad about everyone, but it's all about, are you better than the guy you're pit up against right now? So
Hmm.
um, that's what happens, man. Two men enter, one man advances.
One man will be moving on. So, yeah, I mean, without further ado, we can get into it. You set us up nicely. If you were with us, you know how we split the bracket. If you have or are just joining us, I'll give you a little breakdown. We did four quadrants. We have the West, we have the Midwest, we have the Atlantic, and we have the South. As you'll notice, there's a bunch of southern states there in the Atlantic Division. I'm sorry if you touch the Atlantic Ocean, that's where you ended up. I know I'll offend Georgia and Florida and a few other places, but that's just where you're at. But we're going to go ahead and get started with the West side of the bracket. All these Western teams, and it's pretty exciting stuff. So we've got 8 matchups, 16 guys, right? That's right.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
That's
Uh,
bracket math.
that is bracket math. I don't know why I had to second guess myself on that. But yeah, so 16 guys to talk about today, 8 different matchups. So we're going to go ahead and get started with our number 1 seed, Rome Odunze, going up against our number 16 seed, Anthony Gold out of Oregon State. Um, I don't think there's a lot of argument in this one, probably.
No, no, no. I mean, just purely on a stats basis. I mean,
Mm,
you've got 1,600 yards and 13 touchdowns up against 700 yards and only two. you got to give it to Gold a little bit. You know, he did run a
Mhm.
4.39, which
Yeah,
was decent.
it's awesome.
But he's a little guy, 5'8", 174.
Hmm.
And he's 24 years old, roughly. So
Yeah.
we're not exactly pumped about him. You got any cool notes on him?
Not particular. I mean, like you kind of hit it. He's a smaller guy, but he's really fast. He took the top off the defense for Oregon State. But
Yeah.
just no real competition here to me. I mean, Rome is a true number one. I think in a lot of other drafts he would have been the wide receiver one. Um, but he just happens to be with neighbors and Marvin Harrison Jr.
Yeah.
Whereas Anthony Gold, like even given his size, like he already has a few red flags. The size, he doesn't do a lot more than just kind of use that quickness and that speed to get open, which is good. I mean, he took a screen to the house, given the right blocking. He can show that off, but I just don't think he comes as much more than a gadget player, especially in a wide receiver class that's so deep. Like, okay, you're 5'8", 174, running a 4.39. We got Brian Thomas Jr. running that at 6'3" or whatever. So like we don't and there's like three or four of these guys that we'll get into weirdly all on the West Coast where they're short but really, really quick. And I just think he's gonna kind of disappear and end up as kind of the wide receiver 4 or 5 on a roster, maybe a special teams guy. You might hear
Yeah.
that a lot from me in the
Oof.
in the
Come on.
kind of initial uh
The first
entrance
wave, dude,
here.
you gotta let him go.
You have to. And I think Gold's a good player, like he's fun. I
No.
just like once we get to the NFL, I just think he kind of settles in as a more of a rotational guy, if at all.
Yeah. I did like his effort and he did have nice releases and the route running was good and it was pretty sharp. So the execution was decent. But
Yeah.
the thing that sticks out to me is a huge red flag for him is right. We're talking 5'8", 174. He only had 10% slot usage.
Mm,
So he's not even playing the role that is suited to
yeah.
his disadvantages. So he's going to have to change positions effectively if he wants to make a name for himself. He's not going to be able to line up outside
Mm.
in the NFL with
Yeah,
that
there's no way.
size. So
Yeah.
he's bye bye man.
Yeah.
See you if
So
we do.
moving
Maybe
on
get
is going to
bored and do
be
a consolation bracket, but no, he's gone. Sorry.
maybe next year. Maybe we'll
All
introduce
right,
the consolation bracket.
maybe in July.
But Anthony Gold, sorry, my friend, you are done in this year's tournament. Rome Odunze, you are moving on. Could have seen that coming, but we will move on to maybe a little bit of a closer matchup. We got the 8 seed in Jalen McMillan going up against the 9 seed in Isaiah Davis, running back out of Dakota State. McMillan being the wide receiver out of Washington. Am I saying that correctly? I feel like I'm not.
Oh yeah,
Okay.
McMillan. Yeah, I think you're saying it correctly.
I think so too. I don't know why I'm gun shy on my pronunciations right now, but what are you thinking here? This was a little tough for me.
I mean, if I'm being straight up with you, I kind of like McMillan in
Mm,
this one. I know it's going to be a hard sell, but I'll just give you my intro to why, and you can tell me if I'm crazy or not, and we can talk about Davis as we go. But okay, through the first 3 games, the guy had 311 yards and 4 total touchdowns. He did lead Washington in 2022.
mm,
He is the slot guy, breaking deep, doing great things. And through those first 3 games, he was on pace with Adunze, about 100 yards shy, but they were all getting, triple digits pretty much every game. And the same with Polk as well. So if he hadn't got injured, halfway through the third game and missed a few. I don't know. I don't know what kind of year it turns out. I'm trying to project based off his 22 stats and then what he did to start the year in 23 before getting injured. And it looks like, I mean, this guy's a big sleeper for me. He almost had 1,100 yards and 9 touchdowns in 22, and he led Washington. So I'm a bit projecting and really, really loved this film like
mhm.
a lot. Um, versus Isaiah Davis. You can tell me, man. You talk to me. Let me know.
No, I actually ended up being with you. Jalen McMillan, on paper looks like the third most productive receiver on a highly productive offense. But like you're talking about, he had the injury and it kind of slowed him down. And if you look to last year, him and Polk basically flipped where McMillan had 1,000 yards and Polk had less. And then now we flipped to this year. So I don't think it's that he's not a player or anything. And he's got decent size, 6'1", 198, ran a 4.4. Like that's really good there, especially if he wants to continue in the slot role. He may be able to play a little more outside with that size,
Sure.
and decent speed too. I think he's super quick off the line too, and he runs really, really good routes, in my opinion. That Washington offense was just so interesting because you had like Rome as this number one guy, and then you had McMillan attacking the defense by finding the holes in the zone and kind of getting open that way. Where and then you had Polk kind of just going right at the defense against single coverage, and it was crazy because like Polk's grade against single coverage was awesome, but his zone grade was horrendous, and McMillan's grade against single coverage was about average, and his zone coverage grade was awesome. So it's just this kind of they used him really well, and so if he goes somewhere that's going to use him well, I'm in. He knows how to get open. That's a valuable asset to have in the NFL. And whereas Isaiah Davis, I do like, and
Oh yeah.
I do think he can find a role in the NFL. I think it's likely a rotational role where he's like a power short yardage goal line type guy, which isn't bad. It's just like we're a fantasy podcast. We're not an NFL pod. you know, if I was building a team and had a quick guy and wanted a power guy, and I could take Isaiah Davis in the fifth or sixth round, like yeah, I would do that in a heartbeat. But that is not going to help me in fantasy. And I think as deep as this wide receiver class is, I do think McMillan can find a role somewhere and kind of be more productive than Davis, who I think is going to end up being more of a once every couple weeks, maybe he has a good game and then maybe has a blow up game if somebody gets hurt. But outside of that, I don't think he's going to be that valuable of a fantasy asset.
I'm with you, man. Obviously, just playing for South Dakota State, he had an easy road to having
Hmm.
the top run grade in the tournament. 25 breakaway runs, 80 missed tackles forced, and 2 years of production over 1,400 yards and 15
Hmm.
touchdowns. But he was a man playing with boys up there, man. But I'm going to tell you something, and this is just weird. I watched enough of his film, and he started to remind me like a souped up version of Trey Sermon,
Okay.
which
Oh.
because well, I mean the way that he like spun through tackles and like did a lot of hesitating to like
Hmm.
jump past guys. Like Sermon did that stuff in the short area, and it was cool and it was great, but it wasn't traditional of a running technique. And the
Gotcha.
reason that Sermon struggled going to the pros is because he couldn't transition his game into a more traditional style. And
Mm.
I think I see a potential for that to be a problem for Isaiah Davis because he's going to want to do what worked against competition that wasn't NFL caliber, and it's
Hmm.
not going to translate to success. And he might have a rough start continuing on this kind of momentum that he's carrying coming out of a small school.
Yeah, I'm with you. And for those reasons, like it's a weaker RB class, which kind of makes him an intriguing option in terms of like trying to find the sleeper of this RB class. But yeah, I just think there's too many holes for him to be like a superstar in the NFL at any point. So,
Yeah. And the 4.57, he's eliminated from the tournament.
truth.
All
So
right.
we've got Jalen McMillan moving on from our initial matchup, and Isaiah Davis, unfortunately, gonna
Hey, hats off to you.
go home. I actually thought he might make it a little farther. We're cutting guys that I thought were gonna be good. Obviously, we
Yeah.
have only cut two, so we'll go. But next up, we got our 5-12 matchup. We got Michael Penix Jr., quarterback out of Washington, and Jacob Cowing, wide receiver out of Arizona. Um, this is kind of what I was talking about with Gold when I was talking about there being a bunch of these like small, super quick guys. And that's what Cowing is. Like he's another guy that ran a really, really good 40. Um, and you can throw him in there with Gold and Xavier Worthy, and to a lesser extent, him and Roman Wilson as these super fast but shorter guys. And I do think he's a separator. He can get open against coverage. Like he's really good at that. I just think there's too many. red flags to ignore for him. And we talk about size a lot, but this dude's size, we're talking 5'8", okay. But we're also talking 168 pounds. But here's the kicker is 29 and a quarter inch arms, which is fourth percentile.
Oh,
We're talking about a guy who's small and just has tiny little arms as well. And
no,
it's
I would reiterate.
it's likely he's likely to be like a fun gadget guy, a special teamer for sure. I think he has the movement and ability to be able to like make people miss and stuff, and maybe he can get open occasionally, but he's not going to be a consistent producer, whereas Penix has his flaws as well,
Oh yeah.
but I believe in him in the right environment more than Cowing.
I mean, yeah, Penix has and I hate to keep doing it where I compare him to Hayden Hooker from last year or Hendon Hooker,
And Hooker.
because they both do have like a lot of great ball skills, but where Hooker, I think, really benefited from the system in Tennessee, like Penix kind of made
Hmm.
the offense what it was in Washington, and it was great, and he's awesome, and so I think he definitely wins.
Hmm.
I'll give Cowing like one small nugget over Gold is that he actually played the slot 70% of the time, and
Hmm.
he's a little bit faster, but um, he was really feisty, and it was kind of fun to watch him. He's got some moves, but he never hit 1,000 yards. He's
Hmm.
23, another guy
Hmm.
like that. He's in the bottom three of the tournament in yards per route run.
Oh
So
wow.
that's just not going to really
Yeah.
work for me. He's in the bottom five in yards per reception. So for all these reasons, I mean, thanks, man. Good luck. But you can't beat Penix, not right now, not in this way.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it was fun to watch. Super fun coming out of Arizona. Just a lot of fast guys. It's a fun class if you like speed. But yeah, I'm with you. He doesn't beat Penix. So moving on, we've got Michael Penix, our 5 seed, moving on, and Jacob Cowing going home. So moving on to the 4 versus 13 matchup, we got 4 seed Bo Nix, another quarterback out of Oregon. And then we've got Taj Washington, wide receiver out of USC. And,
mm,
I don't know, kind of repeat of the exact last conversation a little bit, sort of.
sure. I mean, I guess so. I mean, this one's tough for me
Yeah.
because I think Taj Washington, yes, major slot guy,
Hmm.
90% in the slot. Um, but he is one of the better slot guys
Okay.
in this little section of the tournament. He's not the best. Obviously, McMillan, I think, is way
Hmm.
better. We're gonna get in some. It's a really nice slot draft. It's weird, but he
Yeah.
fits in there. He's got a few traits that make him appealing, and I'm giving Bo Nix the win just
Yeah.
because Bo Nix. But he had the highest targeted QB rating out of the whole tournament.
Mm.
Washington did. He's playing with Caleb Williams. Maybe it helps. I don't know. Um, but he actually tied for the top yards after catch per route or per reception at 8.6. He's top five in yards per catch. And then his catch rate was 79.7%. Like, so he's catching everything going.
Hmm.
Um, and I also thought he was pretty physical as a blocker and a tough runner for his size, and had a great deep ball hand. So like he's got enough skills. He's another guy that I'm kind of earmarking
Hmm.
as potentially if he lands in a place that could use a slot receiver. I'm probably going to keep a little bit of an extra eye on it. I should make this list out so I don't forget. I always forget the good stuff.
That's fair. I hear you. Yeah, I mean, I did like Taj Washington. I mean, I don't know that this is just one of the deepest classes at wide receiver I've ever
Yeah,
seen, and definitely the deepest since you and I have been doing this podcast, I would argue.
without a
And
doubt.
and to me, I just think he gets lost. I think there are guys like Malik Washington even has the same name, and I think he would be better in the slot, you
Yeah,
know.
Malik Washington's amazing. So I
And
mean,
yeah, but there's like a few guys like that. Roman Wilson would be better, in my opinion. So there's like, so to me, I think Taj Washington gets a little lost. Where Bo Nix, I don't really know what's going to happen with Bo Nix. I feel like he could be awesome, or he could just be dog shit, in the NFL.
mm,
I'm not really sure there's much of an in between. Um, so to me, I'll
yeah,
take the risk reward on that over Washington, but I do think you're right. I think he's better than say Cowing or Gold. But I mean, if he's not even going to make it out of the West as the best slot receiver, I feel like it'll be hard for him to really, really get going. But I'm with you. I'll earmark him, see where he lands.
yeah, no, but yeah, I mean, we're forgetting about Malik or Malachi Corley. Like he's a better
Yeah,
slot receiver. Like
yeah,
with the, he may be, you're right, the fifth best slot receiver in this class. Yeah,
exactly. So maybe if it's a different class, it's not as tough for him to kind of pop. But if guys need a slot receiver, he may not be the first name on their board.
exactly.
Um, so we got Bo Nix, quarterback out of Oregon, moving on, and Taj Washington staying here. Next up, this is a fun matchup, I thought. Jalen Polk, wide receiver out of Washington as the sixth seed, and Marshawn Lloyd, running back out of USC, as the 11 seed. Man, this might have been the toughest one, maybe for me, but all right. I'm gonna go Lloyd. That's my pick here. I like Polk. Polk's not as polished as McMillan, same wide receiver core, but he has the physicality to make those contested catches that McMillan may not. And he can block super well. I really do like him. I don't think he's necessarily the best route runner or separator or anything like that, which could hurt him depending on where he lands. But my thing is like Lloyd, I legitimately believe can be a starter in the NFL. I don't know that he can be like a superstar starter or anything like that, but I definitely think he could be 1,000 yard, 10 touchdown back easily. And I think he has three down potential. I don't think they used him enough in the receiving game, but he was highly efficient when he did. He didn't get enough carries, in my opinion, 7.1 yards per carry and 17 catches or 17, almost 18 yards per catch. Um, I like Lloyd a little bit better. Like Polk to me right now profiles as like a wide receiver too, more likely maybe like Mike Williams type deal for me. And I mean, he is young. He's turning 22 coming forward, but it's not like Marshawn Lloyd himself is old either. He is just 22. So
Yeah,
to me, I look at a guy who has a really, really, really high floor in Marshawn Lloyd. And this is what I was talking about earlier with Isaiah Davis, talking about trying to find the sleeper of this running back class. Because it is a weaker class, but there are going to be guys that come out of it that are good. And I really do think Marshawn Lloyd is one of them. And so to me, I think it's an upset here, but I would go Marshawn Lloyd over Polk. What do you have to say?
let's see. I have notes here. Let's see. Marshawn Lloyd. He is firmly in the top four running back conversation of the class, and that means it's a bad draw for Polk. Because yeah, it's definitely an upset. Um, I do like Polk, man.
Yeah.
Honestly, I've got to tell you, I really liked he got set up, dude, with the Penix thing. It
Hmm.
just really fed straight into what he needed to showcase his skills. But his deep ball, like his catches on those deep balls
Oh
were
yeah.
amazing and they
Hmm.
were just nonstop headed his way. And I thought he consistently freed himself up just like enough to have clean deep catches without a
Hmm.
lot of contact. And the way he did it, I thought he has underrated like moves throughout his routes, like at all ages or at all stages of the route. He has some kind of trickiness that he can use to just get that step that he needs
Hmm.
to get a little bit clean. But I thought he was strong enough and fast enough, and yeah, it could be a solid number two for a team. Um, yeah, you got to love his burst is at 82 there. You
Yeah.
take that, but
Hmm.
I mean, Marshawn Lloyd did. He had the speed score in 93, when he came in and weighed 220, it was over. Like
Yeah.
it was over. So I'm with you on this one for sure.
All right, cool. I thought I was gonna have to fight you a little more because no, I'm with you. I did, man. Polk had some really, really fun tape, and part of me struggles. Like Okay, not all three of the Washington wide receivers are gonna be great in the NFL, more than likely. It just like mathematically that would be crazy. And maybe that's too much in my head, but like
I
one of
think
these
watching
guys
them, I
keep
think the
watching.
McMillan film is what made me be like, oh, well, like Polk's not even the second best guy on his own team, you know?
That's fair. Yeah, McMillan was a surprise. I had a lot of fun watching him too. But yeah, Polk man, if he gets somewhere where he can be the two and kind of, I think he can be effective and fun, and he may even be an effective fantasy asset. But I think take a chance on Marshawn Lloyd, especially if he's around in the second, still of your fantasy draft. I think, man, I
Oh,
really like
it's,
Lloyd
yeah, feels
if
like
he
it's not
makes
going to
it that
happen though.
far.
We'll see. We'll see, man. I'm excited though. I'm excited. It's not too much longer and we'll all be dropping drafts.
Yeah, it'll be fun. So we got our first upset of the evening. Marshawn Lloyd moving on as the 11 seed, leaving Jalen Polk there as the 6 seed. So moving on to the next matchup, we've got 3 seed Troy Franklin out of Oregon, wide receiver, and the 14 seed Dallin Holker, tight end out of Colorado State. And I don't think this one's particularly close. I Holker's fun. I liked he's a fun receiving tight end option. He showed off his skills at the combine, making that two ball catch, thinking
That
that
was
the drill
fun.
was over. That was fun and cool. But he's undersized. He's not the best blocker necessarily, and he's kind of undersized to keep that going, the blocking skills that he has, and then he may be even undersized to be a consistent receiving threat. It didn't help that he was the slowest tight end at the 40.
Yeah.
That's not the only thing that matters, but when you're already undersized, I don't really want you running the slowest. So to me, he's likely a backup that uses receiving tight ends. I don't know, on a team that uses receiving tight ends like Baltimore, maybe Kansas City, New England, something, but just like probably not worth a dynasty rookie pick. And to me, Franklin's like a top 7 to 8 potentially wide receiver in this class. And yeah, I just don't think it's that close.
Yeah, I mean Franklin did what he did, that 441, like that was
Hmm.
what he needed to do coming in at
Hmm.
176 to make it legit.
Yeah,
Yeah, I shout out to Marshawn Lloyd, Troy Franklin, two first names. You got to be weary of these guys,
yeah,
but
that's true.
he definitely wins. The Dylan Holker, I know he's undersized and I know he's the slowest tight end,
Mhm.
especially in this tournament. He's way the slowest. But he does have the second longest arms in the
Mm.
tournament, uh, right behind Johnny Wilson. So 33 and 5/8 inch arms gave him a catch radius that does really pop
Mhm.
when you watch his highlights. But
Yeah.
he's got to be probably one of our oldest guys. He's 24. He did, he went to BYU and he did the mission, like put his
Hmm.
college on hold and did a mission. So he's an older guy and so there's a lot working against him, but I think he's gonna have a few of those weeks where you almost want to roster him,
Hmm.
but then you got to remember like all the really good tight ends that we've seen come through that aren't even, starting,
Yeah,
so I
a
don't
hundred
know.
percent. Yeah, I think he's definitely gonna get spicy. You know what? Like it kind of reminds me of Colby Parkinson in Seattle. Like it could be like that where he has a few weeks where he's dominating the target share in the tight end room and flashing, and you think, okay, maybe I'm gonna jump on this guy, and then he kind of disappears on you. He's so fun though. Yeah, he's a lot of fun. You nailed it with the catch radius as well. It gives him an extra pop catching those balls, but yeah, not enough to beat Troy Franklin though. So the 3
No.
seed
Oh,
Troy Franklin moving on, 14 seed Dallin Holker staying behind. So 2 matchups left in the
matchups left.
Western Conference. We've got the 7 seed Bucky Irving, running back out of Oregon. And then we've got the 10 seed, Brendan Rice, wide receiver out of USC. I've started the last couple. What do you think about this one?
Okay, so here's my thing. I'm going with Bucky Irving. Okay. And I know this is going to be a whole thing because Irving had a disappointing um, combine, like
Mm,
really disappointing. Ended up with a seventh percentile burst score a 4.5540. It's coming in skinny as hell, the 192. Um, but I mean, I don't care. The things he did during the season make it up to me. He's got 90 missed tackles forced combined between his rushing and receiving work. Elusiveness, he's top five in our tournament. Yards after contact. I mean, both the rushing and the receiving grades are top five. And I know we had a lot of Cinderella stories in the combine. He wasn't one of them, but this guy is a gridiron warrior, man. I wish he had done the bench because if you watch his film, his power, the strength he has for being this small to break tackles and to refuse to go down. I love the guy, man. And I don't know if I've got you with me or against me on this one, but I will put it down in saying that I do not think that Brendan Rice is the best USC wide receiver in this bracket.
Oh,
I
wow.
prefer Washington over him from what I've seen.
I don't know that I'd go that far with you. I think they're fairly kind of on the same tier, though. Like, I don't think there's a lot of difference between Rice. Well, there's a lot of differences between Rice and Washington, but in terms of like level or ceiling caliber, I think they're about the same.
Sure.
I'm actually with you on the Bucky Irving experience. I was prepared to try to hype you back up, but you never got off that
Oh,
train. So,
oh,
obviously, like you're saying, Bucky, he whiffed. He whiffed hard on the
yeah.
combine. But let me tell you a story of somebody else who whiffed on the combine and who we wrote off for whiffing at said combine, who had a
Sure.
worse 40 time
Mhm.
at 4.65 instead of 4.55. And he didn't do well on any of the drills and ended up weighing about the same and was about the same height. That guy was the RB7 this year. And that guy's name was Kyron Williams.
Yes,
And
sir.
that guy, both you and I loved his tape coming out,
Fucking loved him.
thought he was elusive as hell, and then he did shittily in the combine, and both of us ran away from him, and then had a rocky season. We thought we were good, and then blows up in his second year. And I don't know that that's going to happen with Bucky Irving, but I'm willing to take that chance because if you watch the tape, just like you're saying, it's there. The elusivity is there. He had 149 rating for elusivity with PFF,
Yeah.
69 forced tackles just on the rushing game last season. So to me, like it's there. He's untouchable when he's on the field, and I'll take the chance on that in a weaker RB class than the chance on Rice to get buried in this wide receiver class. I
Yeah,
do
for
like
real.
Rice. I think he's good-ish. I don't think he's gonna be like a 3 or a 4 on an offense, and it's gonna be fun. They're gonna sell a lot of Rice jerseys probably because it's Jerry Rice's son, and I think he can contribute kind of like he did at USC, but I just don't see him as the guy or gonna be a guy that leads your fantasy team. And I would rather take a chance on Bucky Irving, given the tape that we've seen that made us like him before the combine, trying to shy away from just running away from
Yeah, I'm with you, man. Thanks.
him.
Thanks. Thanks for this. Brendan Rice, though, I mean, just everything fell flat. The stats, the
Mhm.
grades, none of it was like detrimental, but none of it was
It's
appealing.
just kind of fine, you
Yeah.
know.
And like you could tell he was trying. Like he's
Hmm.
got long arms as well, 33-inch arms. But he just like he wasn't successful on the field enough,
Hmm.
especially you look at like the thing with Washington is he had given Caleb Williams the best passing grade
Hmm.
when targeted. And then, you got Rice in that same environment and it just didn't happen like that. And I thought it was because he couldn't get separation. And I think he needs a little more something or other to get where he needs to be successful. So, all right. All right. I won't bury the guy. I like him. I like him, but I didn't know. I thought I was going to have to fight you on this one.
It's funny because I thought the same thing. I might have to fight you to bring you back up on your boy, but you never
No,
left, and
dude.
that's what I respect
Nightcrawler.
about you.
Hell
Nightcrawler,
yeah, dude. I'll go down with the ship. I got a Tracer and
that's
shirt around
fair.
here somewhere.
That's
And a
fair.
David Bell one. Oh, Christ.
All right, so the Nightcrawler, Bucky Irving, RB7, or sorry, seventh seed, moving on, and Brendan Rice, no nepotism in the RDR tournament. Sorry,
Bye bye.
you're staying. So last matchup for the western side of the bracket, we've got number 2 seed Caleb Williams, quarterback out of USC, and number 15 seed Dylan Johnson, running back out of Washington. I think this one should be fairly obvious as well. But speaking on Washington, he's got good size. He's a strong runner. 16 touchdowns this season on an offense that was loaded with pass catchers that we were been talking about, and a quarterback was slinging it around. I think he has decent receiving ability, but I just don't see him being anything more than like a potential rotational guy that's not like really a different maker in terms of fantasy. And honestly, just on upside, I'm not even the biggest Caleb Williams fan, and on upside alone, Caleb Williams beats Dylan Johnson here.
Yeah, you kind of got to be hurting yourself to go this hard against Caleb Williams.
Yeah.
In this situation, it's just not really a smart move.
Mm-mm.
Dylan Johnson, yeah, yeah, the guy, he's great. He's got great traits.
Hmm.
He's in this bracket here. He's the best pass blocking running back, which it's going to definitely help people out when it comes to being trusted and being on the field, third down situations, things like that. The size is good, 6 foot, 217, right? But yeah, it's a 4.68, didn't
Hmm.
cut the mustard. It's the 3 years at Mississippi State not being able to clear 500 yards.
Yep.
Sure, you get dropped into the ultimate offensive machine representing five of the 16 players in the West bracket, each one of them representing its own like little conflict in us. Rome was the only guy that really like waltzed in and just
Hmm.
dusted the other competition, and it's going to be like we're going to end up with some clashes as we go forward between these Washington guys, and it's not
Yeah.
over yet. But
No, not at all.
yeah, but he's got to join Polk in being a first round loser.
First round
Um,
exit.
yeah, but I like that. I thought that he made nice adjustments behind the line, and I
Hmm.
thought he had like a very chaotic running style
Mm.
that was really dangerous when he broke free.
Hmm.
And so that's cool. That's not the kind of thing you can forecast to the next level, though.
No.
But if it does work out, if he does find a way to make that a consistent thing, or if he ends up on another stellar blocking team like this Washington O line, can we talk about them? My God, they're really doing well. So there's plenty of potential for him. And yeah, I mean it is what it is. He wasn't a stellar pass catcher, so maybe that's why it was pass blocking. I don't know. I don't know
Yeah.
what to say about it.
Well, but he's a good ball player. I just don't think he's gonna be like a friggin' superstar or a producer fantasy wise for you. But like you're saying, the pass blocking, the ability to run, the ability to make a play happen when he gets the chance will get him on a roster, and it's gonna get him in rotation on one of these teams. But it's gonna be you could literally slap him on any team and he would be fine. And that's in one way a good thing, but in another way a bad thing because he doesn't have like this next level ability that you're trying to unlock, at least in my opinion. Maybe I'm wrong.
No,
Maybe
you're
Dylan
not.
Johnson comes out and smacks the world, but
Doubt it.
just based on what I've seen, there's not that next level to it. And so it's just going to be like, okay, we've got three guys and we're really, really cool with Dylan Johnson being our two or our three, but that's it, you know, and which isn't really a guy you want to carry on a fantasy roster except for maybe a handcuff type deal. So yeah, Caleb Williams, our 2 seed, is gonna move on and leave Dylan Johnson uh and have two Washington first round exits. So
Guess so.
recapping our winners here, we've got Roma Dunze, the 1 seed moving on. Jalen McMillan, the 8 seed, moving on. Michael Penix Jr., the 5 seed, also moving on. So all Washington winners right off the top here. Um, 4 is Bo Nix, quarterback out of Oregon. He is the 4 seed, also moving on. Our first Washington upset was Marshawn Lloyd, the 11 seed, taking on Jalen Polk. Then we had our 3 seed Troy Franklin moving on as well. Bucky Irving maybe shocking the
Yeah.
world and staying alive one more round, beating Brendan Rice in the first round, and then Caleb Williams, the 2 seed, moving on. So there you have it, boys and girls. We talked about it all off season, and now we are already off and rolling. Hopefully, we didn't eliminate any of your favorite names, but we are down to 8 guys
Yeah,
in the West bracket. So,
that's
oof,
good.
gonna be moving quickly through this. And speaking of which, we're gonna get you 2 episodes this week. So we're gonna come out with this one. You're gonna hear it on the
Gonna love
Friday
it.
that it comes out. And then we're going to pop another one. We are going to do the Midwest bracket that's going to come out around Sunday or Monday timeframe. We're going to lock that down, but expect a second episode as we roll through this bracket. We want to get you as many people as possible before the NFL draft. So please come back and join us here in a couple days when we take on the Midwest section of our bracket. But until then, we've been Rough Draft Research. You've been the audience, and we'll see you next one. Next time.
Yeah, come back and see how the West has won.
I took a lease out on your